Hello, connecting a bit early as usual when we're not public to make sure that the mics are working properly, that the live is working properly. So I am on my phone and it is working properly. Super, for once it was super fast. So I am going to start in 1 minute, just making sure that no one gets stuck trying to join the live. And I do know that some of you will catch up with that live a bit later today because it's very early in your countries. I went a bit early this week because I want to be using the space here to show you a few things. I actually I've invested in very good equipment to be able to put a camera and connect it to my laptop to have a very good quality, image quality to show you all this, but the laptop happens to not have the power to deal with this. So we're going to have to stick with the webcam, unfortunately, for now. I may use my phone next time, and that just would be easier, and I think the quality would be slightly better. So, today, I'm not going to go over the videos because I did so in the first part of this Q&A, which I released yesterday. So if you haven't looked at it just yet, you should. Again, I know that your time is limited, but it's always insightful to look at what I say to other people, not just what I say to your own videos, because this is how we learn. I want to be showing you a few things against the wall today, and I've been commenting on all the videos I have received, almost individually, in terms of going to all the videos that needed some feedback. And I've been trying to streamline the feedback I've been giving you to the one thing you should bring your attention on your next session, for your next session. That's always how we're going to be working together. And if you have taken the H7 challenge, you know that this is the way I think we should work, because otherwise the amount of things we have to think of becomes too great. And it's about knowing what to do and when. It's about, I've been using the recipe analogy. It's about putting the water before the pasta, really. And of course, there's so many details we could bring our attention on, but it doesn't matter to me unless you can put on autopilot putting the water first. The salt doesn't matter as much. Right now, we want the core elements of your handstands to be nailed. Again, if you are joining me, 4 people, if you are joining me for this live, feel free to ask me anything in the comment. I should be able to see them, hopefully. And next week, maybe, if not next week, then one after, I will try to organize some form of live interaction. So we will have hot seats, pretty much, which is the best way for this to work, where you can think of what you want to show me, you can think of questions you may have, and we will have an interaction through something like Zoom. So I'm going to try to set this up as well. I will be in touch, and that will be another format for us to explore our mastermind. Now, what I want to touch on is where we are going. We are on, this is week 3. This is week 3. We've been working on consolidating the foundations of what has to be ingrained, namely a sense of alignment, the understanding of the first axis, which is you bringing your shoulders over your hands and you feeling that when the shoulders are not over the hands, not only the alignment is going out of the window, but your weight cannot stay on your first knuckles as well. We've been working on our kick-ups and understanding the priorities when it comes to kicking up against the wall, touching the wall, landing on the wall, landing softly on the wall, landing already in the desired shape on the wall. And understand as well, we have understood that we have to work where we belong. It doesn't matter, like if you look at the mountain, it seems way too high for us to get at the peak of it, but you need to set yourself orange goals. You need to set yourself intermediate goals to get there, and that's why we have this kind of progression in levels. I've been suggesting a few variations depending on if you had time or not, depending on if you were a bit more advanced. And this week, we're going to take things a bit differently, because now that we all have the foundations understood and nailed, I'm going to actually tell you what I would advise you to work on. And I'm going to make 3 big groups. And I'm going to actually individually tell you which group I think you belong to. Some people need to bring more their attention on alignment. Some people need to bring more their attention on kicking up. And some people are going to focus more on taking off, which is the first step of balancing. Taking off is the most tempting of them all. Like, it's very common for many people, including myself, when we begin or after a few months, to be so eager to take off, because taking off feels like you're floating and you're like, finally, I am enjoying the fruit of all the efforts I've been putting into that practice. And for you to all feel that, the workouts are going to be very similar, but the volume is going to be different depending on which category you belong. Which category you belong to. Oof, I need more coffee. So what am I saying? The main chapters, the main parts, the main sections of each workout are going to be structured around your kick-up technique, your alignment, and bailing, obviously, but also taking off. If you are in the taking off group, you are going to bring 60% of your attention to the taking off part. You're going to do more reps and more sets, and fewer reps and fewer sets for the other parts of the workout. If you are in the kicking up group, then you will be invited to really focus more, 50% of your class, on the kicking up parts, and still touch on the other bits so that you keep advancing, so that you keep progressing, so that you keep exploring the whole puzzle, but also so that you don't feel frustrated for not being able to enjoy, for instance, a bit more thrilling part of handstands, which taking off can be. I'm going to suggest to you where you belong. It doesn't mean that you are not a free person and you can do whatever you want. Of course you can, but I would advise you to trust me on that one. And of course, then you can tweak a bit the workouts and the sessions and the training programs. You have to make sure that you feel rewarded at the end of each session. You have to make sure that you are managing the ratio between frustration and reward. But yeah, I'm going to individually this week, if not today or tomorrow, tell you what I think you should prioritize, which group you belong to. Now, there's a few things I want to touch on in terms of technique. Where are we going with this? This is something that is being explored and explained in depth in your course. So I'm going to be not repeating it, but bringing forth the elements that I think we should work on this week and the following weeks. I had a question about this actually. What should we do? Should we go through the modules? Should we go through what you post on the sessions? I mean, the modules is for you to have for life. The mastermind is me looking at what you need and saying, I actually do a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of that now, because this recipe is going to yield the most progress. And by the way, I feel that the group needs such and such drill. It's not on the menu. I'm going to record it and send it to you, which is what happened for the handstand lecture, the kick-up lecture that I sent you, which was 20 minutes long. So that's the point of the mastermind. It's another course within the course, but it's a course that's more adapted to what you need and that has a linear progression from week 1 to week 12. If you have more time, of course, you are more than welcome to explore the modules now and understand a bit better what handstands are about and steal a few exercises here and there to diversify your training. So, I want to go over the kick-up first, the alignment second. We're going to talk about the bailing, and I'm going to finish with taking off. In terms of kicking up, I want to remind you the main distinctions, the main landmarks when it comes to kicking up. One, we have to be able to touch that wall. And just because you can touch that wall with your normal kick up doesn't mean you will be able to do it with another form. So every time I'm asking you, or you will change the shape you kick up in, you may regress a few levels. What am I saying? Just because I can land 10 times out of 10 doing this, doesn't mean I can land 10 times out of 10 bump to the wall. Certainly doesn't mean that I can land 10 times out of 10 into a straddle. And for some of you, I was saying, start again. Put your hands down already. Forget about the lunging kick up. Try this one. That was for the people who have a tendency to involve way too much momentum in their kick up. You have to treat this as if you were a complete beginner. Just because you can almost freestand every time you lunge into your kick up doesn't mean you will be able to do the same when I'm asking you to start hands on the floor already. So you have to manage this, yeah? And again, go back to the progressions I have laid down, the levels, and you will know where you are at and work from there. If you're not able to touch that wall, hands on the floor, well, your mission is not even to land softly anymore. It's going to be to land no matter what it takes. Touch that wall no matter what it takes. That's the first variation, in which we even allow the alignment not to be so great. We even allow the legs to be bent. That's fine, because we need to make sure that the brain knows where the wall is behind us. And once we can do that, 80% of the time, then we're going to start having straight legs, we're going to start landing softly, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm talking about. So treat every shape as being a different micro word within the universe of handstand. This is going to be even more true when comes week 8, 9. We're going to start exploring the shapes and the tuck and the straddle and the frog, and you're going to see a big difference between what you can do in a normal Y shape and what you can do in your tuck shape. So in saying that, every one of you has been working on how tense, that was the whole point of this first cycle, how tense and still and quiet can we land on that wall softly and consistently. That's pretty much where we are at. The reason for that being, if we are not tense, and I'm counting on you when it comes to eating your vegetables, right? I'm counting on you to be doing the hollow holds. It's super important. It's super important because we don't have to think about being tense. If you are not tense, let me put it straight again. If you are not tense, no matter how good your technique, you're going to kick up and you're going to do this, or this, or this, or bend the elbows. This is going to be enough to set you off balance. Handstands, in handstands, we want to limit the number of variables that we have to think about. Bending the knees and bending the elbows are one of these variables we don't want to be thinking about. So we are doing our priming drills to have a proper level of tension and stillness in our bodies. Then we kick up against the wall and we try to get there softly. Now we've been trying to either land bum to the wall or foot to the wall. For the people who are still working on being able to land bum to the wall, remember that if it's not possible just yet for you, what you want to do is get closer to it. What you want to do is create an intermediate goal between landing foot to the wall and eventually landing bum to the wall. What is that? What is that intermediate goal? Then it's just you kicking up and taking a few seconds there to feel where the pelvis is. And from that position, shooting the bum out. Now the moment the head starts moving forward again, we stop moving. It's a sign that we are reaching our red zone. We want to get more and more comfortable with the idea of having our bum overshot that much. And this might take time. Rushing through that process is not going to be beneficial. So you want to stop moving your pelvis towards the wall, the moment you feel that you're getting weak, the moment that you feel that you're getting shaky, or the moment where the alignment changes, which is usually translated by you getting your head closer to that wall. Eventually, we're able to do foot and bum and release the foot. When you can do that, you are very close to being able to land bum on the wall first. Okay? Even if you're not able to land bum on the wall, it is fine for what comes next. We're going to keep working on it in parallel with everything else. Now let me reassert why I am so into you being able, I am so keen, I am so interested, that didn't come up well. I'm so interested in you being able to land bum to the wall. Landing bum to the wall is the proof that you are aligning your pelvis over the shoulders. It's the proof that you are not in a villain, which we have seen before, puts us in a position where when the body starts slightly going undershot, we will lose our balance. The more aligned the pelvis over the shoulders, the better each leg can counteract the other, which is very interesting when we begin handstands. This also means that touching the wall with your bum first is not a goal per se. It is a way to teach us what alignment means when we are back to the wall. So eventually, once I can get that alignment without having to think about it, landing foot to the wall would be fine, because I will exactly know what it is to bring my bum over the shoulder so that my hands stay heavy. Eventually, after having practiced hundreds, thousands of times the bum to the wall shape, I won't need any more to land bum on the wall. Because every time I will kick up in my hero or my ally position. My bum will be nicely stacked over my shoulders, and then my legs, well, will just be counteracting each other, and this will make my life way easier when it comes to balancing with my fingers. That's why we're practicing this, okay? Now, everyone, in terms of last point about kicking up, when it comes to the noise in our bodies, we have understood that the more noise there is, the less able we are to save a handstand. The bigger the gap between what you can do with a wall and without a wall. And our intention as we practice against the wall is to reduce that gap, obviously, so that eventually we can remove the wall and it doesn't feel so foreign to us. We're gonna call whatever you do once you have landed on that wall, reshaping. Whatever you do between the moment you have landed, either 1 foot, 2 feet, or your bum against that wall, and the moment you took off, regardless of the way you took off, is going to be called reshaping. You are changing the shape of your body. Reshaping is normal at first, because our intention is to get to that wall first, is to get overshot. And then our intention changes. Our intention in the second half of the movement becomes to set ourselves in such a way that we can actually take off, which, remember, means that we have an undershot counterweight that makes whatever is resting against the wall lighter, so that eventually you can take off. Let's demonstrate that. What usually happens when we start learning is this. I get to be on that wall consistently, but this involves me bringing that foot all the way there. From that position, I have too many things overshot. If I push on my fingers, nothing is going to happen. I need to make this foot lighter. I need to make my body lighter against that wall first. So I'm going to use the undershot counterweight and bring that foot closer to the wall. In doing so, my whole body is going to be tipped this way. So much so that the foot that stayed against the wall will become lighter. When it becomes lighter, I stop and I'm ready to take off using my fingers. This whole process of me being like, how can I make myself lighter against that wall without pushing on the wall? By using whatever is undershot is going to be called reshaping. And we are all doing it right now, reshaping, and it's fine. But keep in mind that your goal is eventually to not have to reshape anymore. When I say eventually, I say down the line. I just want you to be aware of what your body is doing right now. If I'm kicking up bump to the wall, let's make this whole Q&A as comprehensive and well-rounded as possible. If I kick up bump to the wall, you already know that you can have both feet here or both feet there. If I feel that my bump is too heavy, I need to bring my legs a bit lower. And then if I push on my fingers, I'll be able to balance here. I want to stress again the importance of you being very close to that wall with your fingers when you're kicking up bump to the wall. Unless you have a very exaggerated lordosis, it's going to be super hard to be like 1 foot away from the wall and being able to take off from that wall. So that's what I wanted to cover when it comes to kicking up. It's not only now about overshooting, it's about overshooting, feeling what you're doing as you reshape and soon taking off. These are very distinct stages in our kick-ups. It's very important for you that you exactly know in which stage you find yourself at every point of your kick-up. Otherwise, you're going to rush into your kick-up, get to the wall, and take off whenever it gets to taking off. And that's a trap in which you don't want to fall. When we are taking off, we're going to still kick up. We're going to still reshape. We're going to still be tense, and we're going to add one ingredient in that recipe. If you make the whole process about that ingredient only, you will miss the point. You only deserve to take off if everything else has been done properly. So taking off should only come to your mind once you have ticked all the boxes that come before that. Moving on. I hope you are. The video is still on, isn't it? Yeah. Guys, I hope you are. Everything is fine on your side. That's my rant about kicking up. We will still work on your kick-ups. Even my advanced students I'm still asking them to work on their kick-ups separately from what they can do with their fingers. Because there is value in us perfecting our kick-ups. And then there's value in us doing something with this kick-up, namely taking off. I'm going to cover taking off right now because it makes sense, and then we'll talk, as I was saying, about alignment and fear. Taking off has to be, as much as possible, the action of your fingers. I'm going to remind you kindly that taking off is not the only goal of your practice, although it is the most elating feeling ever when we are upside down. It is addictive. And no matter how addictive it is, you need to make sure that you are not hypnotized by it. So whenever we get to work on our takeoff, we are aware that they're not the only point of the drill. Whenever we go through our sessions, we should be aware that when it comes to you perfecting your technique of kicking up, you shouldn't bother about taking off, although you can. I'm working on how straight my legs can be when I kick up. I happen to be up there, and you may be thinking, well, while I'm here, can I just enjoy myself, please? No. Bring all your attention on perfecting your kick up. Remember that handstands are about taking each piece of the puzzle and refining them, and then putting it back on the puzzle. When you work on your kick up for kick up's sake, you're not working on taking off. Okay, is that fair? I'm saying this and I'm a bit heavy with this because I know it's bound to happen. Because I've been teaching too long not to know, and because I've made that mistake myself. Okay? Super Tom, thank you for letting me know that the sound and the image not so much, but the sound should be good with this mic. Now, moving on. The takeoff. The takeoff is, so you will see, I will put you the links for the module. But the takeoff is what we felt when we were doing the priming drill pre-challenge. So I'm going to walk you through it again because a few of us haven't done the challenge. We were sitting on all four or all six like this with the knees down and the feet down and the hands down. And we were remembering that handstands are not so much about aligning the shoulders over the heel of the hand, which is this bit, but more so about aligning the shoulder over the first knuckles. And my elbow looks a bit weird because it's hyperextended. Now, my cue, what I should bring my attention on is how heavy my hand becomes as I align my shoulder over my hand. The moment I have a chance at putting that part of the hand, the first knuckles, down on the floor, the moment my hand becomes flatter on the ground, I know that I'm doing something right. This is what it's going to feel like to be in a handstand. Whenever the hand becomes light, whenever the shoulder moves back towards your heels, your hand becomes more rounded, there's more space between your hand and the floor, you have lost your handstand. A handstand is a constant fall forward, and we will touch more on what this means in a matter of weeks. But you want to remember that you want to be overshot, and overshot feels like this. Not like that. It feels like this. Now, if we just move forward and backwards, so we make the shoulders travel over the hands, past the hands and back towards the feet, we feel that as the shoulders go forward, the hands become heavy. And as the shoulders move backward, the hands at some point are going to become light. That's what we've been defining as being the tipping point. You want to stay past that tipping point. This is where the magic happens. The moment you go undershot, which is the moment where your hands become light, you lost your handstand. There's three main ways to save a handstand from that point on, but we cannot touch on them until you have a 15-second handstand. Your life will be way easier staying overshot at all costs than flirting with the undershot zone. That's quite advanced. So yes, there is something to be done. No, you shouldn't bring your attention on it. From here, we're going to add something that we haven't done in the challenge, obviously. Yeah? We're going to set ourselves on all four, go past the tipping point one first time. As the hands become heavy, as the shoulders go overshot. And stop the moment that we feel that our hands are firmly anchored on the floor. We breathe here, just taking note of the weight distribution in our hands. And we're going to push on the fingers. We're going to grab the floor and push on the fingers, trying to generate a movement that's going to bring our shoulders back into alignment. See this motion here? I am not actively flexing my hips. I am not actively thinking about bringing my bum to my heels. My whole body is moving backward because I'm properly aligned and because I'm pressing on the floor. So that's what you want to be doing. People sometimes ask, should I be pressing down? Should I be pressing away? That's too complicated. You want to feel what you're feeling here. You are on all four. You're trying to bring your shoulders backward without cheating, which is without using anything else in your body except your fingers. So you're here, you lean forward, you are heavy, push on the fingers only to move them shoulders back into alignment. Feel the tipping point. Decide to go past it or to release the push. That is up to you for now. And I want you to go very mindfully like this for a few reps. Every single session, that is a new prerequisite. This is what it feels like to be pushing on the floor, and I don't want you to go half-ass. Push as hard as you can without cheating. If you're not cheating, you should feel quite heavy. This is not an easy drill. Do that a lot so that it becomes automatic. Then we will go on a planche position and we can do the same. push on the toes to lean the shoulders forward, stop when they're heavy, take note of how it feels like, push on the fingers, and it's gonna be way heavier, but way closer to what you wanna feel, push on your fingers to bring your shoulders back into alignment. This is what it is. This is what finger pushing is. Now we are touching on finger pushing this week. We are touching on it. We are not making this the priority just yet. Do not put the cart before the horse. I've been commenting on some of your videos saying, I hope this is dessert. Again, if you want to enjoy yourself at the end of the sesh and freestand or float, good. If you're practicing your kick up, please, like I'm not going to be cracking the whip, but almost. Don't bring your legs and enjoy yourself for a few seconds because this isn't going to pay off. Balance happens because you've been ticking all the boxes before that properly. Balancing, hand balancing, is the side product of you taking care of everything else. And suddenly you will balance. If you chase balance, you are bound to do something wrong. Okay? So that's the priming drill I want you to feel. That's what it feels like to be pushing on your fingers. Now, once we have understood that, hi guys, I should have recorded that and Jesus, I should have, but it's just for you. Once we have done that, we are going to go back to the wall. You're going to kick up with the intention of, you know, that within this framework, you're not just kicking up for kicking up's sake. You're kicking up so that eventually you can take off. Remember that at first we may need to reshape. So we're going to kick up, take a few seconds to settle in, to anchor, to feel how you are positioned and aligned. Reshape, which is use the undershot limb/limbs to make whatever is resting on the wall lighter. And then has come the time for you to push on your fingers. I do not want to see anyone pushing on their fingers. Let's say you have to wait at least 6 seconds between the moment you landed and the moment you took off. Anything shorter than that, you are rushing the process. I can guarantee it. So this is what I would like this is what I would like for you to aim for. Kick up, reshape. Take your time. Feel the moment where this limb becomes light. Push on the fingers like you were doing. This is going to happen. You are going to come back down even slower than what you have been doing so far, including in the challenge when you were lowering the leg down. Because suddenly the takeoff doesn't happen through suddenly the undershot limb is not the reason why we take off. It's the precursor of our taking off. Precursor. Nice word. So we're here, we stop, we anchor ourselves, we push on the fingers, and if you've done everything right, you should feel quite heavy. This foot or this bum is going to take off very gradually. You're going to be suspended in the air. You're going to feel the tipping point and come back down. That is taking off the proper way. Okay? One more time. This is the last module. That's what maybe sub-module. That's the word I was looking for. The last section of our following sessions. It is not the priority. It is one of the modules. Okay? And again, you will have a link to all the tutorials included in your course, which explain that with a higher quality image, but maybe in different ways. And I think there was value in me going over that with you. Now, 2 more things, and then I leave you alone, unless you have questions. Of course, shoot them if you have. We're gonna talk about alignment a lot. And people who have been working with me before in class, you will recognize this. This is what I call the good dog, bad dog. Good dog, bad dog is about us really ingraining the relationship, the intimate relationship that exists between our pelvis and our shoulders. Our Capacity to open the shoulders, which is this action here, where I bring my hands overhead. I go as close as possible to a 180-degree angle between my arm and my trunk. This motion here is going to be essential for us to bring our pelvis over the shoulders, which we know now is essential for us to have a handstand in the first place. I'm not going to go over the why because we have covered that. Bum over shoulders over hands is what matters for a handstand. Us opening the shoulders is how we get to bring the pelvis over the shoulders. This cannot happen unless you have your shoulders already stacked over the hands. So these are the two axes of a handstand. First, shoulders over hands. Maybe more precisely, shoulders over the first knuckles. Second, bum over shoulders. And this bum over shoulders happens through you doing this and maybe a bit of that. But certainly not only by you doing this. Let me show you how straightness and handstand are predicated by your capacity to do these two things, to find the two axes. This is what a good dog, bad dog looks like. A good dog, bad dog can be done chest to the wall, back to the wall, freestanding. A good dog, bad dog is very similar to a villain and an ally. The difference is we're going to keep both feet on the wall for this one. So, this is not a handstand, and you already know why. My shoulders are not aligned over my hands, and my bum, well, is far from understanding what it's supposed to be doing. The first axis is this one. Aligning my shoulders over my first knuckles so that my hands can become heavy. The second axis is this one. Aligning my pelvis over my shoulders. And I want you to see that this is a bad dog, this is a good dog. My shoulders, the first axis is never questioned. My shoulders stay over my hands. But my bum travels a lot through my opening the shoulders. Opening the shoulders is what allows us to bring the pelvis over the shoulders. In the lecture of the modules, this is what I refer to as your Iron Man. Iron Man has a core here, a lighted bulb. I think it's his heart, but I'm not sure. I'm not too much of a fan. But imagine there is a laser pointing out of your sternum. When you are in a bad dog, which is a banana, which is a villain, your laser is looking at the floor. When you are in a good dog, your laser is looking at the wall behind you. Have a look. Imagine there's something sticking out of my sternum here. If I go in a banana, my laser is looking at the floor. As I correct my line, my laser is looking at the wall. And this has nothing to do with my head. It's all about the shoulders. So, for some of you, I was saying, careful to keep the weight over the first knuckles. Careful not to stretch in a downward dog. When we open the shoulders, we sometimes confuse opening the shoulders and reaching for the second axis. Opening the shoulders has to be about the second axis, that's what I'm trying to say. If you are opening the shoulders for opening the shoulders, you may well lose the first axis. It looks like this, yeah? You are either chest to the wall or back to the wall, and because you want to reopen, you lose the shoulders over the heads. You are performing a shoulder flexion, great, but unfortunately at the expense of your alignment. As I was saying, no matter what your pelvis does, it doesn't matter unless the first axis has been protected. This good dog, bad dog is the most valuable drill that you can practice now and in 1 year. We will make it more complex. It is the most valuable drill. If you have 10 minutes per day, this is what I want you to do. now and in 1 year. Okay? It's that important. It also builds up control, it builds up alignment, it builds up strength, it paves the way towards the press handstands. I mean, it's the most underrated and the best bang for buck drill ever. What we are doing when we open the shoulders is exactly what happens when we kick up against the wall or kick up, period. When we kick up, are my shoulders open or closed? Even if you kick up like this, the moment your hands go on the floor, this is gonna close. And you're gonna have to reopen it again. Have a look now that you can see it. Step, close, open. In the kick-up lecture, I mentioned this. And now is the time for me to go in depth about it. Shoulder flexion is the key. Because it allows us to, when you know what you're doing, bring the pelvis over the shoulders. Okay? So this is gonna be a game changer for everyone. Now I'm gonna make a distinction here. If you find yourself struggling to align the pelvis over the shoulders, you may want to add some form of sticking the bum out into the recipe. Even if it means performing an anterior pelvic tilt, I don't care. If you have, let me rephrase that, constrained shoulder mobility, you will have to stick the bum out. You will have to. If you don't, some of you have a very good line already, you may decide to open the shoulders fully, but not necessarily stick the bum out. I would invite you to still do it because sticking the bum out makes everything easier for now. And once you can achieve a 10-second handstand like that, then we can talk about your pelvis. And worry not, there is a module just about that in your course, okay, if that's one of your goals. So that's about alignment, and we will perform good dogs and bad dogs, chest to the ball, back to the ball. We'll talk more about it. But this is the essence of the drill, and it will be really at the core of our sessions for the next few weeks. Okay, the alignment, kicking up, taking off. Last but not least, fear. So everybody has been progressing nicely. Fear is a long process, big time, even more so because we cannot work with a spotter here. We are facing the void at the edge of our cliff, and we have to take the leap on our own. That's quite daunting. I understand that, and that's why you always have to work within what's safe. Work within your orange zone. Do not jump both feet into the red zone. That's not going to pay off. I just want to make this super clear because I've seen that and I've commented on it, and I want to show it to you again. At first, the longer the last foot stays against the wall, the safer you are. It is okay to keep practicing it as long as required until this becomes green. And when it becomes really comfortable, you will be ready for you to take the foot off and land quickly. And eventually this whole process will be softer and longer. So I'm going to take the mic off because I don't want you to lose your, I don't want to be breathing heavily into it. But I'm going to show you, let's say, 5 variations, 5 progressions of bailing from the safest to the most advanced. You want to make sure that you are aiming for the next progression. You all want to make sure that within the next, depending where you are at, within the next 3 to 5 weeks, for some of you within the next week, you are able to take both feet off the wall and bail. That is extremely important, even for a split second. Without that, there will be no freestanding. So fear, as I was saying during the challenge, is the number one thing that we have to tackle. So I'm going to do it towards the camera so you can see. I align myself. First, one hand, both feet. Second, same thing, 1 foot at a time. I align myself. 3 seconds, 3, 2, 1, and 2. Third, which is where most of you are at, I stick one leg out, I anchor a few seconds, and I go hand and foot. The foot that stayed against the wall stays as much as required. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2. Did I? Sorry, I have doubts. Maybe I took off the foot. Let's do that again. 1 and 2 and 3. Yeah, this one. Tack, tack. So the foot that's set against the wall really stays long here. Well, quite soon, I want you to be able to go 1 and 2. Take off the foot for a split second before the first hand moves. Take off, go. We are stressed, but for a split second. Don't go too crazy. Don't force this. It has to feel uncomfortable, but not red. And eventually, we'll be able to take off, and down, and eventually take off from further away. Enjoy the takeoff, keep falling, resist the temptation of falling, fall. And that's down the line, yeah? But the third variation is not too far from where you are at right now. Okay, that is it for today, guys. That was a lecture per se. I'm going to keep commenting on your videos. I saw that a few of you uploaded some videos this morning. So I will have a look. I will be commenting. Again, if something is not clear, you have to tell me in the comments. If you're facing a psychological obstacle, let me know and we can keep progressing, yeah? If you find yourself suddenly super busy at work and you would like to know which exercise you should bring your attention on, let me know. I mean, this is a conversation. I am basing the Q&A on what I see and on the questions I receive, but you feel free to ask me things and I will make sure to include them in the next Q&A. So in saying that, I wish you a very good day. I shall be uploading the next session very promptly, but you already have the foundations of what we're going to bring our attention on. And I'm going to be also telling you which group I think you should work in. I'm going to suggest to you to bring your attention on either the kicking up part or the alignment part or the taking off part, but everyone is going to be a bit of everything, just in different proportions. Okay? Guys, have a great day and see you soon.